Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our market and sector analysis webcast. I'm Connie Hill, sitting in for Mr. Mike Fairborn today. I'm happy for you to join me here today. It's been an interesting afternoon, hasn't it, with the Fed announcement and the reaction of the markets. We're going to take a look at that in just a moment. I am pleased to be joined in the chat by Kevin Horner. Say hello to Kevin. He's a friend and colleague and has been a market veteran for many, many years. As you have questions, go ahead, ask those. I'll keep my eye on the chat. If there's some questions I can't quite get to, Kevin will help me out with those. And those of you listening to this on the recording, when you have a question, go ahead and put them in the comments section in YouTube, because I'll go back and look at those throughout the week and make sure you get your question answered quickly as well. Now, I do hope you're following us on X. I'm Connie Hill CS. Kevin is Kevin Horner CS. We'll post educational content out in our X account that we think might be helpful and informational to you. So it's free, it's easy, follow along. Kevin's got those posted there. Very good. Let's go through the disclosures and I'll lay out our agenda for today. What we talk about is intended for education and information only. Please do not consider it a recommendation. We will be using some technical analysis today. Schwab does not recommend that be your only source of analysis. We'll be using the Paper Money software application. That's what you download to your computer. It's the most robust version of Thinkorswim, although I will say web version and mobile versions are catching up, adding new functionality all the time. Investing involves risk, including the loss of your initial investment. Past performance is never a guarantee of future results or success. When we talk about things theoretically, keep in mind they are, I should say probabilities, they are theoretical in nature. All right. Let's see. Let's head over to our Thinkorswim. I'll be interested to see where the markets really ended. I mean, I was taking a look at the SPX, of course. Just kind of seeing what was going on here. And the S&P, we've got a couple of down candles in a row, not the end of the world. You can see is still above my 10-period moving average. This one's an exponential moving average, and the SPX has been staying above it. Just yesterday put in another all-time high. But I guess maybe some of the market was disappointed in what they learned from the Fed announcement. I don't think anybody was really expecting a change in interest rates. I shouldn't say anybody, because there could be some people, right, that were expecting it. But kind of the vibe out in the investment community was that they probably weren't going to do anything yet and still leave the door open for further down the road if it was required. So yeah, we see our S&P holding up actually fairly well, just pulling back a little bit. Let's look at our NASDAQ. Now it looks like it eked out a few pennies of a gain. All right, so NASDAQ actually not selling off as much as the S&P on the news. Let's look at the Dow Jones. Dow Jones did, so this is kind of its third red candle day, 2 days in succession of closing lower than where it opened or where it closed the previous day. So we're seeing that. It is a little bit below the 10-period moving average. That red line is a 30-period moving average, and it's not really even close to that. Okay, so obviously still making the higher highs and higher lows. Now, the one that was really kind of volatile today was the Russell 2000. Remember, that's the one that tracks the large cap stocks. And you can see it's got some decent sized shadows today on the downside and on the top side there. That lets us know there were some extreme movements in price, lets us know maybe a little bit more volatility occurring in that particular index. And the one thing that's interesting about the Russell, yes, it did put in a high last week, but kind of notice in general, some of those small cap stocks, they're just kind of sitting in a trading range. Right, and it's actually between these two fib levels, the 50% and the 61.8% level for the most part, that it's just kind of bouncing back and forth in between those. So a little bit more sideways action during that. Now let's go ahead, let's pull up the VIX. Interesting comment Chris says here that, you know, what puzzled me was the VIX spike during the press conference. Let's go down, let's change our chart from a daily to, let's go, a 1 day, 1 minute. And it's a little messy actually, if those moving averages. So let me maybe just hide those for a moment while we zoom in and just look at the action here. So yeah, VIX have been raising a little bit. Powell started to speak about, let's see, 2:30 Eastern time, and that would be 12:30 my time, and I've got my clock set here to Mountain Time because that's what I need to pay attention to, right? So about right here is, okay, here's 12:31, right smack where my mouse is. So volatility dropped a little bit. And just like what you said here, Scott, that it spiked a little bit, actually quite a bit. And then before the day was over, it dropped back down. So I'm not sure exactly which comments kind of piqued people's mood. Okay, had the VIX be a little bit more volatile there today. But it's interesting, it kind of got back down to where the previous lows were. So really on the day, if I look at it, down a small percentage. All right, let's bring this back to a one-day chart. Maybe go out here about 6 months. And the last one is the Dow Jones, just a quick look there. I think maybe we didn't look at this one in detail, but yeah, down here a little bit. Hasn't quite gone back to the previous highs set in February, but it's definitely in an uptrend, strong bullishness overall. Scott says, you know, the VIX spiked as Jay Powell spiked, and then that caused the S&P to sell off, and actually the Russell 2000 sold off much stronger. I was doing a comparison chart during that period of time. Man, that Russell came slamming down. Okay. One thing that is helpful for traders to know is really to be in kind of focused and knowing what sectors are doing well, where the strength is, where the weakness is, because that makes a huge difference in the types of stocks that maybe you're focusing on. Now, something we'll do here that is, I was going to say, probably a fairly simple exercise for most of us, is to bring up this public watch list. It's the S&P 500. If you come out here to the public and come down to the S's, it's going to be this one, S&P 500 sector indices, okay? And what I've done here, I've hidden the very first column that gives us our little number there. I don't have all of those memorized. I need to use the description of it. So I've collapsed down that column, and we can see here essentially what they are. And I've got some scripts that are giving us some calculations. We have 1 week calculation, a 1 month calculation, and a 3 month calculation. And depending on where your focus is in some of your trading, you might pay more attention to one than the other. Quite honestly, a week is quite myopic, but sometimes we can notice big shifts in a week. And sometimes it's helpful just to have that on there to see if maybe that's happening. Maybe something that was low in, say, a 1 month performer, but all of a sudden has some activity here in the 1 week column, then that might catch our attention here a little bit. Now, if we were to go on the 3 months here, and I just click on that title and let it sort by it. Over the last 3 months, information technology has been the clear leader as far as those sector indices, or those sector indices here. 24%, followed by communication services, down at 13, followed by industrials and consumer discretionary. Okay. Now, if we said, okay, let's make our focus maybe a little bit more narrow, maybe a little bit of, okay, which ones are really strong right now in the last 4 weeks or so? Then we'll go off the month. So let me come over here. We're going to resort this based off the month. And in the last month, the information technology is still the best performer, followed by utilities, followed by consumer discretionary. Now, it has, in the past, it hasn't really been that common for something that's considered more defensive in nature, like utilities, to be competing with something like information technology. Usually we see maybe one leading, say maybe in more expanding conditions in the economy, something like information technology. And then when the market gets a little defensive, man, those utilities, consumer staples, they're the ones that really typically move to the top as far as performance. and the other sectors take a back seat there. So why do you suppose the utilities might be performing here? I have kind of an idea myself, but I'm curious to see what you guys might think of it. Go ahead and chat that in. Okay, Scott's letting us know Microsoft and Meta both hit out of the park, so they announced their earnings tonight. And so thanks for the update there, Scott. Appreciate it. NASDAQ will go up almost for sure tomorrow, he says. They certainly are the big drivers, right? And leaders in the Mag 7. Yeah. What's kind of, Robert Riceford says, maybe it's a little bit of the uncertainty in the markets that might be driving a little bit these utilities. That could be. Danielle says AI, and Vic says AI data centers. I'm going to agree with those of you that are coming in with AI. AI is making its way into how utilities are performing and the demand, for some of that, electricity that they supply. And so I think that's where utilities is really getting a boost. I agree with you, is there. Rita says utility seems to have an inverted or an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Ooh, Rita, let's go take a look at that since we're talking utilities. Let's pull up that chart. Let's see what Rita's talking about here. Now, this is a 6-month chart. I'll put it on a 1 year in case maybe we need to see a 1 year chart for what you're looking at, but probably actually don't need to. And let me see if this is what you're seeing here. You can tell me if this is what you're seeing or if it's not what you're seeing. I'm thinking you might be seeing maybe the head down there. Let's get a little fatter marker. Maybe a shoulder here. And then maybe a shoulder here. And maybe what you're saying is maybe elongated. Maybe it looks like there might be a few shoulders here. And it could be, or it could be that that maybe through here was the neckline and that it drove through the neckline, pulled back a little bit. Maybe it's above the neckline right now. That's a possibility. If that's the case, it's kind of like, maybe it's already played out. Now, if you were looking for this a little bit shorter term, if you were looking at shoulder and head and then looking for shoulder, typically we want to see a downtrend there. So we'd on an inverse head and shoulders. So kind of like what we were seeing here, a little bit of weakness in the market. And then you see the shoulder form, then down here to the head, and then maybe another shoulder forms. All right. And you can tell I am definitely a superb artist, aren't I? Yes, we know what great artistic talents I do not have. All right. Rita says, yeah, that's what I was looking at. All right. Going back here to the stronger sectors. Once we've determined who they are, do you guys have a firm process for putting together a watch list of stocks that you're like, I am interested in these guys in the stronger sectors? We're going to take a little bit of a look at that today, show you a couple things, show you a scan that I think might be helpful to some of you for that particular process. We're going to come over here to this, oops, I've got to get rid of my drawing guy there. We're going to come over here to the scan tab, and I have preloaded in here something that I call my growth stocks class. Now, when I used to teach a growth stocks class, this was the scan that I used in that class to help us identify some growth stocks. Now, you don't have to be a growth stock lover. You don't have to apply this criteria, but it's something that, say you're looking for some growth stocks, maybe you're interested in. So let me show you what we have here. Stocks have to be at least $10. So I've got that last price coming in at least $10. Then we have a couple of fundamental items here, and you get your filters, the fundamental filters from that plus add filter button. And so I brought over PE ratio. Now, PE ratio, when somebody's looking for dividend paying stocks or let's see, like value-oriented type stocks, they might look for lower PE ratios, and growth-oriented stocks sometimes have a tendency to have bigger PEs, which for some people is a little uncomfortable, but it's really quite common when you're looking at growth stocks. So I put a really kind of a generous range in here. I've put from 7 to 80 as what we're looking for on our PE ratio. Okay, the next fundamental filter, I've got return on equity, looking for companies that are over the last current annual, and you can change that to quarterly if you wanted to, having a return of about 15%, which is fairly healthy, right? Not all companies are growing at a rate of 15%, but if we're kind of trying to focus on some growth companies, then that might be a point that some of you might be interested in. Now, the last three items here are studies. And my reminder to you here is that on the filter study, when we come and grab it from here, it doesn't work in your paper account. It only works on your live account. In fact, if you pull it up over here in paper, it'll give you a message like, this isn't going to work. It's probably a little bit more program language oriented than this isn't going to work, but it just doesn't function there. So what you have to do if you want to maybe create a scan that uses those study filters, do it on your live site account, and then maybe bring those stocks over, share the watch list that you create from it over to your paper site as you're experimenting with it, okay? So we've got three study filters here. First one here is average volume, because if you just took regular volume off the stock filter, it'll just come back with today's volume. And if you ran this in the morning and you didn't have a lot of volume activity, it could kind of mess you up. So what I've done here, we've selected from the volume filter, average volume right here. And then what I set it to is 30 periods. The default was 50, so I changed it down a little bit, down to 30, about 6 weeks. And then we're looking for 500,000. Now, that might be a little higher than what some of you require for some of your stocks. You might go, I'm good at 250,000, that's just fine. That might be a parameter you alter. If somebody is focusing, they're saying, hey, maybe I want this watch list to be used with a lot of option strategies, you may want to tinker with the volume, right? You might maybe bump it to 1 million or 2 million. All right. Next up is just identifying some trend. And this first one, we've got a price change, and you get that down here from the price performance filter. And then you come right down here to price change. Okay, that's where you pick it. And I'm saying here, I want it to be at least up 15% in the last 65 bars. 65 bars is about a quarter's worth of trading activity. So we're saying, all right, we want the intermediate trend there to be like 15%. And again, that is fairly healthy. And then the short-term trend, what we're saying here is we want, okay, in the last 21 bars or trading days, which is a month essentially, we want that trend to be up at least 5% than it was a month ago, okay? So kind of trying to force some technicals in there upon the fundamentals that we have there. Now, Hugh says, you're not seeing the same watch list as mine. Well, I haven't run mine yet. I mean, you may have had a sneak peek at it, but I was actually playing with some parameters. I don't think you saw what it was. I'm not sure the difference in the watch list. Now, Hugh, are you referring to the watch list we're going to get from this scan? Or are you referring over here to this far side? If you're referring to the far side, what we were finding here, we were looking up public, go to the S's, and then go to S&P 500 sectors indices. Don't choose sectors and industries. That'll bring you up a whole boatload. It's not going to bring up the 11 sectors we're focusing on. Okay, so to make sure it's this one exactly. All right, let's get rid of the pink drawings here. How many stocks do you think might come back here? I think we're going to get a lot. Now, I have it set to show us 200. You might not want 200, but I always like to see my possibilities and then kind of whittle down from there. So it looks like we've got about 111 stocks that meet the criteria of what we've outlined here. So if this is something you're comfortable with and you think, hey, I might go back to this, go ahead and save it, right? Come out here to the right of the Sizzle Index, click on the Save Scan Query, give it a good name. I told you I called mine Growth Stocks Class because those are the parameters we like to use in there. I'm not going to save it again, but name it something you'll remember. Don't call it Connie Search. Okay, Connie has so many searches, don't call it that. All right. Now we've got some basics in line, and now we're going to go back to and say, okay, let's look for this, but let's look for it in information technology and utilities and consumer discretionary. Okay, so we're going to start here. We're doing all stocks. We're going to intersect with down here by industry, and then we're going to come down here to information technology. And we want all these industry groups, okay? So we're going to select all information technology. We're going to rerun this list, and it is going to be remarkably smaller. Okay, here's our scan. All right, we've whittled that down list from 111 to just 17 that fall in that sector. Awesome. We're going to start a watch list here. When we're finished, I'll share the parameters of I'll share the watch list with you, okay? All right. Oh, Hugh says I'm adding this description. Maybe it was the description that might have been throwing you off there. Okay. No problem. Let's go ahead. Let's save this. I'm going to click on the menu item there. We're going to say save as watch list. And I am going to call this, and you guys help me remember what I called it, okay? Strong sectors. And I'm going to put today's date, which is July 30th. I like to put dates on when I save mine because it helps me know when I need to update them. You know, if I put something back there in April, I'm like, oh, you better update that list, Connie. It's not so current. Okay, so that's why I like to throw the date on there. So strong sectors is what we've got that listed as. Now I'm going to come over here and we're going to change that watch list, S&P 500 sector indices, to my personal watch list, not wish list, watch list. Hey, it's right there at the top. Strong sectors with today's date. Boom. There is that list of 17. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of collapse on the column name here. Probably some of you are familiar with what some of these ticker symbols are, what the stocks are, and that gives us a little bit more room out there in our columns. All right. Danielle says, in the watch list, I'm seeing $ SP 500 pound 55, etc. Not verbal. I think what you mean is that you're not seeing the descriptions there. Let me show you this here real quick. And Hugh, I think this is what Hugh was mentioning here as well. Let me just show you what I meant by showing the description in here. Let's bring it back. We're going to bring it back out here. Let's see here, maybe go like that, like that. I'm going to go to the gear here, and we're going to say customize. Okay. So we have these scripts. If you don't have those scripts, tell me, I'll throw them out in the chat for you. I think a lot of you do have these scripts already. And then what I put in here is the description. So over here in the columns, type in DES, and then that short little list will probably bring up description at the top. You can grab it and either add it or double click on it, should pop it over there. And then I just moved it up. I like it next to the symbol. Okay. So yes, if yours were bringing up S&P 500, pound sign, and then, you know, a digit at the end, 10, 15, 20, and so forth. Yeah. That's why I put the description in there. So, all right, the script. Some of you need the scripts here. Let's do it. Let me do the 3-month one and the 1-month one separately. Okay, so there's the 3-monther. Here is the 1-monther. I don't know if that's really a word I can say, monther, the month. And let's see here. I don't have the weekly one showing up here. And then remember, all you need to do with this, if you're listening to this on the recording, you may have to pause it so that you can see this little URL here. Basically, you could come over here, grab everything in front of the slash, do a copy, come over here to open setup, open shared items, go ahead, control paste. That means you're going to put that URL in there. If you want, you can start it with the HTTP. That's just fine. I just took the shortened version of it. Hit preview. Give it a good name here. Okay, so like this one, you would probably want to put 3-month return or 3-month percent change, something that tells you what that time frame is that you're working with. Sometimes these don't come across with that, and I'm not sure why some come with the descriptions and some don't. So put in something you're going to recognize, write it down so you can go find it later and pull it into your column over here. Make sense? Last step is to hit import. I'm not going to do that so that I kind of keep my files clean there. Okay. Next up, let's grab some more strong stocks. Okay. We're going to go to the consumer cyclicals. So all we're going to do here, change information technology, come down to industry, come down to consumer discretionary, and we want all of it. Okay, we're going to grab all of it. And again, we're going to run our scan here. Whoa, look at that. That is a boatload, 28. Now, we could do one of two things. One, we could save this in a separate watch list. Okay, or we could do what we're going to do, and we're going to add it to our watch list that I named strong sectors. We're going to add it to that watch list. So for the process, this is what you want to do. Number one, have a blank Excel worksheet open. Okay, so I've got mine just sitting here waiting for us to use. Okay, so if you have that open, it'll facilitate what we're going to do. It probably would still work even if it wasn't open, but it just makes it easier if it is. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to this menu that's right kind of in line with Stock Hacker and so forth. Click on that menu item. Then we're going to choose Export, and we're going to say to Microsoft Excel. And this is basically saying, okay, we've copied that out to the computer short-term memory. You need to go paste it somewhere. Okay, that's fine. So we'll go back to our blank spreadsheet. I'm just going to come up to that first cell. I'm going to hit paste or Control V in this case, all right? And then it pastes those 28 stocks and their columns and all of that right there. Now, we don't need all of this extra data. I mean, you can play around with it in Excel if you want to, right? You could do whatever you want with it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight the stocks. Okay, so from NCLH to VC, I've highlighted those, and again, I'm going to do another copy. I'm going to do a Control C. You could use your mouse if you wanted to do edit copy. Now that copies just that column, just those ticker symbols, that copies to the computer short-term memory. All right, and then what we're going to do here is we're going to select on the name of our watch list that we want to add it to. I already had it sitting there, okay. And then we're going to hit import. Now, after we get this menu up, we're just going to say paste symbols from clipboard. That's that short-term memory. That's what it calls the computer's memory, right? NCLH, Nike, MGM, we already saw what was in there. Okay, so there's that list of 28 stocks. Then we don't want it to replace the current symbols. We want it to add to the current symbols. Okay, that way it'll amend it, add to it, make it longer, and not wipe out the first batch. Okay, and then on this, now we'll have information technology and consumer discretionary. We're going to select OK. Let's see here. Oh, Kevin's sending out some information, maybe about a grid that he has about the leaders in the SPX. Thanks for sharing that, Kevin. These guys will appreciate that. Okay, now our watch list is even longer than what it was, and we can see some other things on there that weren't there before. Now, the last one is utilities. We're going to clear the filter. Well, we don't need to clear it. We're just going to change the sector here. We're going to choose utilities. We're going to choose all utilities. And we're going to get a much smaller list here. We're going to get all of 2. Okay. So in this case, maybe the fastest thing to do here is come to the bottom of our watch list, get below the lowest symbol, and we're going to just type in VST, hit enter. Then I'm going to come down here again, go to the last blank cell, right on that far left-hand column, and type in the next one, TLN. It's on there. Okay, so now we have all the stocks from all of those stronger sectors. All right. Now, this could be something that you could work with throughout the week. Now, it's not, once we build these watch lists, it's never guaranteed that, man, you've got an entry signal today, right? Johnny on the spot. No, it doesn't really work that way. What you're going to do is work with that watch list and identify the entry signals you might be looking for. Okay, Chris, you might be looking for something totally different than maybe, say, Danielle, right? They may be different. All right, I told you I'd share this watch list with you. I'm going to remember on these watch lists, when you update your scan, the results are going to change. Okay, so these are just what came on right now at this moment in time at the end of the day. But things can always change, right? The trend could pull back, not show up on the scan anymore. All right, so first thing, let me, on the scan, I'm going to save the scan query. It's going to be saved with utilities in here. So remember, if you use this and pull it in, you're going to have to change that around. Okay, it's going to come in there with the default. So you'll switch it up just kind of like what we did. Save, let me share that scan query with you. I'm also going to paste it out here in my scratch pad for those of you that are listening to this on the recording, and you're going to need to pause and look that up. Put your resolution on the highest that it can be. All right, so that is that one that's going out right now, Life Crew, that's for the scan. The list, I'm going to share that list as well. So we're going to come out here, we're going to hit share, and we're going to come over here to strong sectors with today's date. And that should have all three of those all three of those lists from the scan all together on one. I'm going to hit share. And then again, I'm going to post this out here in the chat for those of you that are here live. For those of you that are on the recording, I'm going to hit paste here. And I'm just going to say, I'm just going to call that results. Okay, those are the results from the list. Also, somebody wanting to see that 1 week, 1 week calculation. Maybe the quickest way for me to do that is this particular column. Let me do edit formula. Come on. Might be hiding behind something here. See, where did it go? Ooh, it is hot. Something's hiding behind here, and now it's got me trapped. Trying to see if it was on one of my other screens, but I do not see it hiding behind any of my other screens. Well, this is a real problem. I don't want to close off. Yeah, well, it's not letting me minimize. So this is what I'm going to do for just a moment, you guys. I apologize. Not sure how to get it unstuck. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a quick pause break. I'm going to stick you on pause for just a moment in my sharing, but I'll continue to talk to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have to go out and kill my Thinkorswim out in my task manager. Some of you guys might know what that means. And then come here to Thinkorswim. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit end task. And so that'll close down. Actually, a couple of them out here. All right, I'm going to load up my Thinkorswim again. And I sure am hoping the watch list is there. If not, do you know what? I'll get to use what I shared with you to bring in the results of the scan. All right. So this is just loading up for me. I'm all ready to sign in as soon as it will let me. There we go. I'll come back. And then I'm going to put my password in. and hoping I have no typos. I'm going to drag that back over, and I'm going to continue my share with you. So let's get that up. I'm going to hit play. And then if it gives me the big sharing icon thing again, I think we are in good shape. All right, it opened it up to my other screen. So we're just going to move him. There we go. Move the big boy over. All right, that's what it looked like. Now let's grab our watch list. So we're going to come down here. So glad I gave it a name I can remember. Strong sectors right now. All right, let's collapse our scratch pad. And I'm going to have to, what I'm going to have to do for that 10-year script, or 1-week script, apologize. That's what I was working through that process to share with you when it did whatever it did. I will post that script along with these other scripts. I'll post them in the show notes. Okay, so in the YouTube description, I'll have it sitting out there. Now, earlier, I was able to take a look at some of the stocks that came back here to see if we indeed did have some that might have some entry signals for us. And let's show you what I found. Okay, let's take a look at the first one. Hopefully nobody's hungry right now because we're going to talk about cake. This is the Cheesecake Factory. You might or might not like their food. What are we seeing here? Well, it's just been making higher highs and higher lows. Kind of came down here to the 30-day, popped up, retraced again here to the 30-day. And then today, what was really nice, I mean, it closed down here last night. They had earnings, apparently. Market liked what they had to say with their earnings. Was a little bit volatile, right? We see with those these long wicks, these long shadows on the candle. But ultimately, it took a hold. The high yesterday, which was of the low day, is 66.19, and it closed at 66.47. So we've got a true hold here. All right. This, you guys, is an all-time high. I went back to their total history to see if it had ever traded this high, and it hasn't. Okay, so this is not only a one-year high, but ultimate high. So when you have something like that, it's not like we can shoot for a previous resistance. So we're going to use our Fibonacci tool to identify, okay, where we might think possibly a move might be. This is my Fibonacci on my my personal, what do we call this? It's not my art tray. It's my, basically my icons for my drawing tools and such, okay? I'm going to start out here on the top of this candle, and we're just going to go to the low of this recent candle, okay? And that is going to build out for us a Fibonacci. Interesting, look where it's hanging, you guys, right here at the 61.8% level, which is a pretty common retracement level. And so somebody, if they were doing something maybe swingish, they might say, okay, target number 1 is back up to the top, that 69.70. And then suppose you're looking for a little bit more time. If cake has some momentum, if it's at all-time highs, maybe it'll continue to go. Its sector's in performing well right now, right? And so we might say, okay, we'll go ahead and shoot for a target close to maybe 75.44. Now, if you wanted to back off of that a little bit, you certainly could, okay? We'll put something in that area, okay? So, no, we still shouldn't be at a pause. Tatiana, thank you for telling me what my brain froze on. It's my personalized toolbar. Vic, I hope you're seeing me again. Okay, you should be seeing me. All right, let's go put in this trade. We're just going to do a swing trade here based on what the stock's doing right now. So let's go ahead and we're going to say a buy custom with an OCO bracket. We're going to put in a stop and a target. Now, if you did want to say you wanted to put in multiple targets here, you could. You could say, oh, sell the first 50 when it hits this target, sell the next 50 when it hits this target, and you could also put a stop in there if you wanted. I wasn't going to get that fancy, okay, but you certainly could. I'm going to go for the higher target, the idea that cake has some momentum right now, and see if it can continue that uptrend and maybe get up to that next area where the Fibonacci is saying maybe this is the next place it has a major stopping ground. All right, so we're going to put in here, I believe that value was 75.44. Let's go a smidge under that. Okay, what if we go 75.34? Okay, we'll go 10 cents under that. Still up in that area. We'll make that good till canceled. And then on the stop loss here, we'll make it good till canceled as well. And really, if this thing were to come in, I mean, we wouldn't want it to go lower than yesterday's low, but quite honestly, it could come a little bit back down there. We don't want to see it fully retrace here either. And with the bounce we're seeing here, it's looking like, at least for the moment, there's some momentum going that direction. So we're going to put a pretty tight stop on it. Okay, we're going to go below this this Fibonacci, the 23.6% area. And I'm just going to go a smidge below that. Okay, so my smidge is 61.88. So we're going to give it a little wiggle room, but not a lot. Okay, we're expecting it to go or mosey. Okay, we're not expecting it to come down and retrace and see if it has support again. We're not going to look for that. Okay, so 61.88 is what we're going to do there. So 61.88. Going to be our stop loss. We're going to queue this up. I'm just going to double check it. And remember, on this stop, it'll trigger a market order. We don't know what that price would be at that point. We just know, okay, fill me at the next available price. Yes, that's what we would like. And we're going to go ahead. We're going to send this off. We have an opportunity to possibly, let me just show you a couple more charts that might be intriguing to you. If you wanted to look for some paper trades to practice with that came from this list. The ones I'm looking at now, Las Vegas Sounds, you can see how it highlighted there. And recently, what did it do? Rallied up. Somebody might say, oh, look at, oops, that's the Fibonacci. I got to change my tool. Somebody might say, we'll start with that bullish candle. They might say we have a flagpole. Looked like it was trying to break out of that flag consolidation, retraced quite a bit. So somebody might not be convinced today was the day. They might wait for some follow through. Maybe you could put a buy stop order and say, okay, if it goes higher, however much above where it closed today, then maybe you're feeling more comfortable that it's really breaking out of that flag. The pullback that it had at the end of the market is the one that maybe might have caused some doubt on that. Okay, so Las Vegas Sounds might be something for you to take a look at. And then let's see what this one looks like here at the end of the day. SMCI, which is a technology stock. And what was interesting about it is that it had a breakout. It retested that area of support. And it too has got like this nice, possibly, some people might call it, well, I'm gonna continue to say that's a building flagpole. And so some people might say, well, let me see if it consolidates. And if it consolidates, maybe pulls back a little bit, then look for a kind of entry on it. But like I said, sometimes we find these stocks and they're not ready to go today. Now, I do hope all of you are subscribers to our Trader Talks channel. Let me get the right window up here for you. If you're a subscriber, and to be a subscriber, just click on that little blue YouTube looking logo down in the bottom right of your screen. It says subscribe by it, and then it allows you to find our content so much more easily than if you're not a subscriber. Okay, you can see what's coming up next. Well, this is the last class of the day for today. So tomorrow, Kevin will be there bright and early. Kevin's here later today. He'll be there bright and early in the morning for the Trader Talk in today's markets. That one he does solo. You get Kevin all to yourself there. Okay. And so you can see what's coming up if you wanted a reminder. Oh, yeah, I want to make sure that I don't miss James Trading the Trend class, great. You can put a notification there, let yourself know. Okay. So it just helps you find our content a lot easier. And, we want to help you out as much as we possibly can. All right. Well, our time is up, but I think we were able to accomplish quite a bit. We really honed in on the sectors that are showing strength in the last month with the idea that maybe they'll continue to show strength. And then we look for stocks that met a particular criteria. We didn't just go for anything, right? We said we want maybe some stocks that have a PE ratio somewhat contained, even though we're looking for growth stocks, and returning something that's profitable. And so you could put your own criteria in there as well. And then the key is just intersecting with where it says sectors and industry groups. Go down, choose the sector that you want to intersect with. So I hope this has given you some great tools for today. Now, I did not see a survey out here. If it was there, Kevin will repost it again, and I'll encourage you to fill it out. But if this is helpful to you today, hit the like button on the way out, subscribe, and then make sure to follow Kevin and I. I'm Connie Hill CS. Kevin is Kevin Horner CS on X. All right, you guys, we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning at the opening bell. Bye-bye.